Good afternoon, everybody. What's going down? Shout out to everyone in the chat. I see a lot of regulars, and I see some people that aren't regulars. Shout out to my best friend Jacob. But shout out to Bufo. Shout out to Cloud9. Everybody else that's in the chat. Um, last time, actually, the last two sessions, I announced the Ozone 9 Advanced giveaway from Isotope. So we're giving away 3 copies of that. And we already have the winners announced. So I'm going to announce them at the end of the session. I don't know if they're in the chat right now. If they are, that'll be cool for them. If not, they'll just get the email with the free plugin, which is cool because that's a $500 plugin that they're getting for free. Before I start and bring on the special guest, and yes, Bufo, this is live. A couple announcements. I think this is the official revelation of the secret beat tape. It's the Cosmic Wave tape produced by PR Beats. It's out now. It's now streaming on all platforms. Check out the chat for the link. It's a complicated link that I'm definitely not speaking. So just click on the link. Shout out to Sydney in the chat. And then also in terms of all the opportunities that BeatStars has to offer its members, including the all-new playlist submissions, live show opportunities, challenges, and more. Make sure to visit beatstars.world/opportunities. Sydney's on it. She put that link in the chat before I even finished my sentence. So click on that link as well. This is a platform that definitely supports its users. Without further ado, let me bring on our special guest, llMind. How are you feeling, sir?
Hey, what's going on, Payne? What's up, guys? How y'all doing, man?
How are you feeling? Shout out to everyone in the chat already. This is interactive. This is live. I know I tricked people last time because last time I went on from Europe and we just couldn't figure out the time zones. But this is actually live.
Yeah, we are live, man. I see all the homies in the room. Bufo, best friend Jacob. What up, guys?
Yo, let me start things off. Number one, appreciate you coming on with us, especially since this is
anything for you, Payne. Come on, you already know.
Yeah, but this is the second one within the last 6-7 months, so that it's dope to have you on here. I know you're doing a lot. I know you had a kid. I know you're living the dad life. How has that changed things?
It's it's amazing. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's surreal. Every time I see my baby, I'm like, I can't believe I made you. I helped make you. But soon enough, you guys will start to see little trinkets and baby toys in my studio as she progresses and gets older. The house becomes messier and messier. So that part I'm not really looking forward to. But other than that, it's a lot of diapers, a lot of feeding, a lot of no sleep. But it's helped me to appreciate a lot of the things about life that I never necessarily really appreciated before having a baby. So it feels incredible.
You think she's going to become a music producer or a creator somehow?
I don't know. I mean, I'm really my whole plan is to sort of try my best to expose her and introduce her to different things and sort of nurture what I notice she really, gains a passion for. And if it's music, it's music. That would be awesome. But I'm actually really excited to kind of see what kind of, creative or interesting things she starts to get into as she gets older. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, my best friend Jacob wants to know if she's inspired you on a musical level.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. I already know, like, as she gets older and she starts to speak, she's only 2 months old. She'll be 2 months in about 5 days from today. But as she starts getting older and she starts speaking and I start noticing different things she's into, then she'll have a direct impact on all of my decision making, creative or business or life or just everything in general. Like, I plan on spending a ton of time with her on so many different things. So I'm like really, really excited.
And it looks like this has officially been claimed as Blap chat territory now. So
Nice. Yeah,
that's what's going on.
I see a lot of the Black world in here, man. I miss you guys so much, and shout to the entire BeatStars team, the MEC team. This is all of you guys, man. Like, I love talking to you guys, and I love, to try to contribute where I can. So it's good to see a lot of you guys. I see a lot of familiar faces.
A whole bunch of Blap going on in the chat. Yo, I read this tweet from Slop Funk Dust recently about a Beat Society event that you had. Something about Kanye West, something about llMind blew Kanye West off the stage. What went down that night?
Oh man, I mean, I wouldn't say I blew him off the stage, but that was a really, really, really like life-changing night for me. So a lot of my OGs kind of know, probably already know the story behind that, but surprisingly, a lot of people don't. So back in 2003, I got invited to perform at this producer showcase, which at the time was really like the first producer live showcase really in existence. I don't really remember necessarily back then any other sort of like ongoing live music producer shows or battles. And so it was called Beat Society. And I got invited to partake because of, the music that I was posting at the time on this music forum on undergroundhiphop.com. And the people running the show reached out to me and they said, hey, like you're a new kid on the block. You're starting to like gain a little fan base on the forums, and we'd love to give you a chance to, come to Philadelphia and plug in your, at the time, beat machine and keyboard and play some of your beats. And we have a special guest, Kanye West, that's going to be there. And this was right before College Dropout dropped. So it was Kanye West, oh my God, Blueprint, you're an amazing producer, but we've never heard you rap before. So this was pre Kanye rap, post Kanye as an amazing producer, Kanye. So I did the showcase and it was amazing. Kanye was there with his little ASR 10. I had my Triton at the time, and I didn't have any placements. I was just like, I was a fucking kid, like, and for, I guess, the people really enjoyed what I was playing, and I got a lot of love that night, and it really changed my life because it was the first time that I got to play my beats for a bunch of strangers, let alone like doing that in person, like in this like real big club setting. And back then at the time, like the Philadelphia crowd was very harsh, very like, hip hop, like arms crossed, like who's this Asian kid with these beats? Like I didn't come here to see him. I came here to see Kanye. So I really had a lot to prove that night, and I was super nervous, and I pulled through and I did it, and it boosted a lot of my confidence in my music, and I made a lot of really great connects that night, and it was life-changing. So yeah, and Slop, which is like one of the OGs, he's one of the first people that I met online that really started to show a lot of love on my beats. He was there, and he's just always been such a huge supporter of mine since back then, man. That's almost like 20 years ago, which is insane. And that was sort of like the beginning of, okay, llMind is like sort of here to stay.
And you were working with the Triton back then.
I was, yeah. For like a few, I was on the Triton for like 9 months, 8-9 months. I was on, and then I switched over to the ASR 10 like immediately after that.
Oh, was that inspired by what Kanye was doing with the ASR 10?
Definitely.
Yeah, ASR 10 is definitely a little heavier than the Triton. It's not that mobile. So I just respect that Kanye was hauling that thing around. It's damn near a car.
Yeah, you know what? Consequence was there, and I remember Consequence was helping him carry his keyboard in, which is crazy. But yeah, he had help. He didn't carry that on his own.
It's hard. I've done it before, and that you just kind of and I'm in shape, and that thing just kind of swings wherever it wants to.
Yeah.
Were you sampling with the Triton then? I know it had sampling capabilities.
I was doing both. The thing I loved about the Triton, I learned a lot using that Triton because it kind of forced me to like learn how to play keys and sort of do the combination of like take a sample, chop it up, add drums, but then also like layer like a pad or a piano. So the Triton was the first experience for me where I was able to like kind of do both without using a computer. And like, yeah, I definitely like learned so much from using it.
And so this was all a result of you posting on the Underground Hip Hop Forum. Is that the website that you met S1 on?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, I met a bunch of people on those forums. I mean, Slop, Symbolic One, Rook from Justice League, Frank Dukes, who back then went by the name of Phase One, M Phases, Decap, DA Got That Dope. So many of us, we kind of came from that same school.
And then someone wants to know, Sour Guy Gaming, did you try to stay in that mental space musically? So basically trying to prove yourself every step of the way.
Are you wondering if I still have apply that to this day?
Sounds like he's asking if that
Um,
was something that you used beyond, after you got placements.
for a long time, that was 100% a mentality for me, was trying to prove to other people, right? Like, I'm not just like this Asian kid from New Jersey who makes like hip hop beats. Like, I'm going to let the music speak for itself. I'm going to prove to you guys that like my shit is fire and and it's worth it. And back then all my shit wasn't that good in my opinion. Like, I feel like all my shit sounded like, you know, Jay Dilla, Pete Rock, like Manny Fresh, Timbaland knockoffs. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of us sounded like that back then, but I was very much still creating with training wheels. I was very much still trying to look for a sound and building my confidence up. But the longer I did it, the more confidence I gained, and also with that confidence, the more I realized that this is less of a process of trying to prove myself to other people and more of a process of, let me just do this thing because it's fun. Let me remind myself of like the reason why I started doing this and what got me so curious to make music. So it became less of a competition and less of like trying to prove to everyone that I'm fire, and more of, this is super fun and it's a passion and I love this, and like, let me see where this goes.
Okay, so to continue to talk about that forum, because you did meet S1 there, and S1 recently tweeted about his first 4-song publishing deal, which actually took 23 major placements to fulfill, and it was even more complicated than that. I remember, God, I don't know how long ago it was, probably almost 10 years ago, when we were in the same room out here, and you explained the MDRCs and just traditional co-publishing deals, and my mind was blown because I was under the impression that as a producer, if I get signed to a publishing deal and it's a 4-song deal, all I have to do is get 4 placements and then I'm out. And you explained that that's absolutely not how it works. So yeah, it was a cautionary tale. I don't want to rehash the whole MDRC conversation because we covered it on the podcast and during the Burn One session. But did you end up signing a publishing deal early on?
I did. The first publishing deal I signed was in 2010, I believe. It might have been late 2009, but definitely 2010 was the year that I signed my first pub deal, and it was an MDRC deal as well. And it wasn't even for that much money up front. And to continue on like the S1 story, he told his story. So a lot of people don't know this about my publishing deal story, but I had signed an MDRC 2010 for the bag, and it wasn't even a big bag, guys. Like, it was like the type of bag where, like, oh wow, like I can do this for another few months, but I need this right now because I'm like super broke right now. Did it, and I literally just got out of that deal in 2015. So like 2015, late 2015 was the year that I made an official team. So I had my manager came on board to start working with me, Jonathan Master, and then my attorney, Vinny Kumar. Both of them started working with me officially in 2015, and they were able to negotiate and get me out of that deal, and it actually worked out for the better. But if it wasn't for them, I mean, who knows where I would be in my publishing right now. I mean, these things, those horror stories you guys hear about producers signing publishing deals and 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, they're still in the same deal, are all true. And luckily now, most publishing companies are no longer offering those types of like slave deals, because there's enough information out there, and there are enough attorneys that are representing producers that already know not to take those types of deals. So they're, most really good entertainment lawyers are advising against signing those types of deals. So a lot of publishing companies are switching up their methods, and they're realizing, like MDRC deals are just not going to work anymore.
Yeah, and I talked to Street Runner maybe a year or two ago, and he had a similar horror story, and then he ended up signing a new deal, which was an admin deal. And you see admin deals. I mean, BeatStars now has admin deals available through Sony for their members. Is that something that you've ever entertained or seen being a better option?
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm definitely a fan of admin deals. No two deals are the same, but my criteria for all publishing deals, and I think this would help you guys, is whether it's an MDRC or a term deal, or an admin deal or a co-pub deal, or these are all fancy names, right? And things can get very overwhelming and confusing. But my philosophy, and I think the most simple way to put it and to remember before you sign a publishing deal, is this: whatever amount of money that is given to you, all you have to remember is that you have to pay that back. So if you're confident in yourself that you can pay back $100,000 in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years via your publishing real estate, right, through your publishing, then that might be worth exploring, right? Let's say you have nothing going on. Let's say you're a brand new producer, but your beats are fire, and like you want to sign a big publishing deal, but you have no placements and you don't necessarily have too many relationships or really too much going on. And then in comes this publishing company. They would never do this, by the way, but in comes this publishing company, and they say, hey, new kid on the block, we really love your shit. We want to offer you a publishing deal for $1 million, right? And that sounds amazing and life-changing, which it is. You have to remember that if you take that deal, you have nothing built up to pay that back. And you have to always remember that you're going to have to pay that money back somehow. And so if you put yourself in that type of hole, the deeper of the hole you put yourself, the more frustration, the more confusion, the longer you're going to be stuck in these deals, and the more you're going to have to rely on the publishing company or other people to bring opportunities to you. And that's very, very few and far between. A lot of times as producers, we have to find our own opportunities, which a lot of people don't know. Like 90% of the big producers who are getting big placements are all because we're out getting these placements ourselves, right? And a lot of people don't know that. So you just have to weigh your risk. You have to sort of do a risk assessment and say, all right, well, the more money these people give me, the more deeper in a hole I'm going to be, and the more difficult this might be to fulfill. So I'm always a fan of think about how much you're worth right now, right? Think about, okay, how many placements have I gotten in the past year? How many placements do I have in total in the past 5 years, 10 years? Even if they're independent things, like a little bit of, a little bit of TuneCore co-production here, or a little YouTube placement here, or, a little song that I did that got, 200,000 streams on Spotify, which is like not the best, but not terrible. All these little drops in a bucket add up. So you have to ask yourself, okay, how much is my publishing worth? Like how much in dollars am I really worth? And if you tell yourself, okay, well, I haven't really done that much, but I'm probably worth $20,000, right? I'm just making an example. So let's say as a producer, your publishing is worth $20,000. So the whole idea is that if you go find a publishing deal and you really overestimate and you feel like you're worth $20,000 right now today, I would be okay with accepting a publishing deal for half of that. So if someone comes in and offers you $10,000 up front, that's around the ballpark of something that you should explore. Because what happens is publishing companies, most of them, not all of them, but most publishing companies will sign a writer or a producer, and the day that they sign, they're already in the green. They already made their money the day they sign, because what they tend to do is publishing companies tend to give half of the money up front of what that producer is really worth. So the pub company will go and they'll do extensive research on your catalog, and they'll make an estimation of what you're worth currently today. So Pane One, and I'm making this up, Pane One, if your current publishing catalog as of April 22nd, 2021 is worth $600,000, then there's a $300,000 bag waiting for you. So that's what they do. They make sure that they will never be in the hole. And so they'll give a producer an amount of money where they have already made their money just by signing you, because they only gave you half of that.
So here's a good question then, to follow up on what you were saying about paying the advance back. How does that work? How do you, as the producer, pay that advance back?
Well, I'm not like a publishing accounting professional, so I don't know the super detailed technical components to it. But what I do know is that you pay it back through getting big songs, right? The more streams your song gets, the more placements, the more exposure, the bigger the song, the bigger the publishing worth, and the quicker and easier you're going to be able to pay off your publishing debt, if you are in that publishing situation with a company. So the whole premise is the bigger the songs, the more publishing worth. I mean, if you get a song on the Hot 100, like that's a huge feat, and that's worth a lot. If you get a song, even if it's a co-pro, if you get a song on the top 10 Billboard, you're entering like 7-figure publishing deal territory. If you, let's say you fully produce a song with no samples, no co-producers, no clearances, you get 100% of your portion, and you hit that on the Billboard top 10, you can get $1 million publishing deal. So hit records, Hot 100 Billboard records are the money makers for publishing.
Asking about a comment you made that producers are really in charge of getting their own opportunities, getting their own placements, so forth. The last time you were on here, you told the story of how Lin-Manuel Miranda listened to your album with Joel Ortiz and reached out via Twitter, which led you to working on the Moana soundtrack and also a whole bunch of other stuff like the Hamilton mixtape and so forth. I want to go back to that album that you did with Joel Ortiz. How did you build up relationships with rappers like him to the point that you're partnering on entire albums?
You know what? It's just a lot of like chain reactions over many years, right? Um, the Joel Ortiz, me and Joel really starting to get to know each other. I can trace if I can trace back the sort of relationship connections. I can trace it all the way back to 2007, right? So, and me and Joel did our album in 2015. So you're talking an 8 year stretch, an 8 years stretch of different human relationship connections that I had to make to get to that point. And then after the Human album became Lin Manuel Miranda, which became Disney, which became, oh my God, we're out of here. You know what I mean? Disney money. So 2007, I'll give you the quick version, guys. 2007, I went to Fader magazine because my ex at the time, right? She was working there. I met this dude named Matt at Fader who worked at Fader. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know Fader Mag, Cornerstone. I went to the office. I met this dude, Matt. He's like, yo, llMind. Oh, you're a producer. I manage this kid. He sings, he raps, he's amazing. He's like 16 years old or 17 years old. You know, I want to introduce you. He introduced me to him. His name is Jared Evan. I get introduced to Jared and we hit it off. I get to know him. We make a bunch of music. Everything's great. And then 2000, was it 2010? It might have been 2011. 2011, still working with Jared. Jared creates an album with Static Selector called Boom Bap and Blues. So Jared calls me and says, hey, or this might have been 2013. I'm sorry, 2012. 2012, Jared's like, hey, I'm working on this album with Static Selector. Can you pull up? I would love for you to help us mix the album. So I pull up. I meet Static for like the second or third time. Me and Static get to build. This is when he was living in Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn too. So then as I'm leaving that session, in comes Joel Ortiz. Never met him before. I'm like, yo, Joel, I'm a big fan. This was like when Slaughterhouse was still like a thing. I'm like, yo, Joel, big fan. I got some beats, bro. If you want to hear some. And this is me on my way out, him coming in. And he was like, yeah, play some shit. I played some shit. He's like, yo, this is amazing. We hit it off. And then we exchanged numbers. And then from there, we just got to know each other. 2015, we decide to just do an album. So we do an album. That album gets into the hands of this guy, Lin Manuel Miranda, who's the creator of Hamilton on Broadway, the most successful Broadway show of all time. And then I end up producing a bunch of stuff for that Hamilton album. And then Lin Manuel, a few months later, calls me and says, hey, I'm working on this Disney soundtrack, this movie called Moana. I would love for you to work with me on this. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So then I end up working on that. And then it even snowballs even more. And that was like 2017, right? So this whole thing getting to Disney, you can see the plaque right there. I have two, but that's the one for Moana Disney soundtrack. That took 10 years to do that. And it was a lot of bobbing and weaving and jumping to different places to get to that point. So that's I think that's a very important thing to bring up. I'm glad you asked that, Payne, because the number one question for us is how do we get big placements? And I guarantee you guys 100% of the time, every big placement that everyone has ever gotten, from me to Payne to Wanda, Hit Boy, my man G Rai, who's killing it, Cardiac, everyone, you name them, right? They have a crazy story for every single placement.
Yeah, so right now, say there are producers watching that want to get placements. What can producers start doing right now to build up that level of momentum to the point where maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, things all a sudden come into fruition and they start.
Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit, but can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I think it must be my internet.
Okay, cool. My biggest piece of advice, I'm going to keep it very simple for you guys. Very simple, right? Everyone talks about relationships and networking and all that stuff, which is very true. But I'm going to keep it very, very simple. Become self-aware, and I don't think I've ever said this before. Become self-aware of your energy and how people react to your energy when you meet them, right? And I think that's important because we're all different. We're all human beings. Some of us have none of us are perfect. Some of us have great communication skills. Some of us don't. Some of us are very funny and charming. Some of us are quiet and reserved and not super charming, right? Some of us are super outgoing. Some of us are recluse. And there's no right or wrong. But I think it's very important to be self-aware of how you make people feel when you meet them for the first time. Because the thing that's going to increase your chances of getting from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person is how you make people feel, right? And I'm talking about how you get from Jared, from Fader Magazine to Matt to Jared to Static to Joel to Lin-Manuel to The Rock, Disney. It's how you make people feel. So I would say step number one is try to become self-aware of how you make people feel when you meet them. And I think that's extremely, extremely, extremely important. And the second thing is to have faith in the path, right? Have faith in the path. When I met Jared in 2007, I had no idea that Disney was in my cards 10 years later. No idea. I didn't know. I didn't care. I wasn't thinking about it. And I shouldn't have been thinking about it. Because if I was thinking about it, I probably would have made the wrong decisions to get there. I probably would have ended up overthinking stuff or trying, altering my own destiny in a way where it was detrimental instead of helpful. And so you have to have this level of trusting the future, trust the process, trust the universe, have faith in the current thing that you're doing, because whatever current thing you're doing is going to place you where you need to be to get to the next thing. And then when you get to that next thing, you continue to have faith in the process. You continue to focus on what you're doing right now, and that will open you up again to the next step. And then you keep pivoting until you get to these wins, you get to these plaques, you get to this person, you get to this opportunity, and it just snowballs from there. But if you don't have faith in the process, if you don't have faith in the future, you're going to make really bad decisions. And if you make bad decisions, you're just going to delay the process.
So back to the Joel Ortiz album that was released through Empire, I believe, right?
We did put it out on Empire. Shout out to my man Ghazi. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to Ghazi. It's definitely a friend of the MEC.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know, but I'm actually signed to Empire, my publishing. Side note, I'm a Cobalt Empire.
Is that an admin deal or a traditional co-pub deal?
It's a term deal. It's a really.
Okay.
I'm very, very happy there. Ghazi and the whole squad, they're amazing. They're incredible, and we have a really good deal with them.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did this happen after the Moana soundtrack?
No, actually, so a lot of people don't know this. So, I haven't even said this at all, but I'm going to say it right now. I was actually signed to Atlantic Records from 2017. Since 2017, I was signed to Atlantic, an actual artist deal, but I just never put out music. I had the opportunity to put music out on Atlantic, and I just never did, and we sort of just like parted ways, and ended up not happening. Just wasn't the right time, and the right pieces weren't in place. So and again, that's just another example of like something that no one knows about behind the scenes that had to happen. But it ended up sort of being a blessing, right? So yeah, so now I'm with Empire and Atlantic, or Empire and Cobalt.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize that. And then how did you end up signing to Cobalt Empire? I didn't even realize that Empire was offering publishing deals in partnership with Cobalt.
Yeah, yeah. I've been signed to them. When did I sign with them? I want to say 2018, 2017, maybe. I think 2017, 2018, around that time is when I made it official with Cobalt and Empire.
So, what was the process of getting the Joel Ortiz collab album to Empire, and how did that compare? Because Empire is still technically an independent, but they're a big independent. How did that compare to working with the majors?
Um, Honestly, it didn't feel super different. Empire is, I mean, they're performing better than some of these major artists. You know what I mean? I don't really, excuse me, at this point, I sort of consider them a major in a way. They've expanded to their squad is so big now. They have so many hit records. They're definitely like at that point where I would categorize them as like sort of a, I don't even know if this is a thing, but like an indie major. I don't know if that probably makes no sense.
Yeah,
But
no, like an E1 or like a maybe even a Strange Music, but probably more like an E1 because Strange Music is a little more boutique, I guess, or not
yeah,
boutique. They're smaller. They
exactly.
focus on yeah.
E1 is probably the perfect example. But it didn't feel too different. You know what I mean? I mean, the Joel Ortiz album in 2015 was technically the first, album that I like executive produced that I had artist rights on, right? Um, Having artist rights, when I say that, I mean my producer name is included on on everything. So it's on the album title. I get artist rights in terms of points on the album, not just as a producer, but as an artist, right? A lot of people don't know the difference between the two. So it was my first opportunity to have artist rights on a full project, not just like, hey, this is executive produced by llMind and he's in the credits, but he's not like really front and center. So it was a learning experience for me. I had a blast. We did a tour and it was a lot of fun. It felt very indie. It felt very street. And me and Joel just get along. He's like one of my good friends at this point. So we had a blast.
And God, I have a lot of questions, but we only have 20
I'm
minutes
here. I'm
left.
chilling, man. I'm good.
Okay. Let me. I know BeatStars is a little stricter, but so okay, you dropped a album, another album that you did with an artist recently. That was Guap 4000. How did you end up releasing that one?
So that came out on a label called 88 Rising, which also has sort of these boutique labels under it. And the label that we released it on is called Paradise Rising, which is actually the Filipino based, um, I guess, boutique label of 88 Rising. So 88 Rising is like mostly an Asian based label. They're a major out there. And they put out Joji, who's like a huge global star, and a bunch of Asian acts that are like just basically like just killing shit right now on the streams. And just, dude, the Asian market is insane. A lot of people don't know that, like, the Asian market is where like all the streams come from. I mean, I think there's a statistic where the Philippines alone accounts for like 70 or 80% of all of the streaming in Asia. Like, the Philippines is like a streaming monster. It's crazy. So Guap and I put out our album on 88 Rising, and it's been a real good experience. It's been a trip.
Yeah, what's the marketing like? Because you released that during the quarantine, so you couldn't tour off that project, obviously. But what what are the marketing efforts like?
A lot of Zooms, just like this. A lot of Zoom calls, and we've done tons of interviews, pretty much all on Zoom. And when Guap had come, he came to Jersey, and we had an Airbnb out there, and we filmed a lot of content while he was out there. So we were able to do that, during quarantine. But outside of that, most of it has just been online through Zoom, and it's doing what it's doing. I think that's sort of the era that we're in right now, at least for right now, is doing the Zoom interviews, and people are consuming online. I think it's the quarantine is a gift and a curse, because it's sort of like, in a way, forcing all of us to sort of be on our computers more, which is beneficial for some industries. It's beneficial for our industry, but it sort of takes away from others for obvious reasons. So, but yeah, it's been all online, and we just got a feature in Asian Journal, which is like a huge deal. They're like the OG, like uh, I don't even know what to, like the I don't even want to say New York Post, because they're trash, but the Asian Journal is like a huge deal, and we got like a big interview with them that just came out. And if you go to your local Asian grocery store, guys, right, and they have Asian Journal, the current issue that's out right now on newsstands has like a 2 or 3 pager with me and Guatad doing an interview. And I actually have to go to the Filipino store later on today to try and get me a copy. But yeah, so it's like stuff like that. We've been very niche, doing a lot of stuff out there, but then also here in America.
Okay, so when you started working on the album with Guapdad, did you already have the 88 Rising deal in place, or did you come out of pocket for everything, all the flights, all the sessions, everything, and then got the deal with 88 Rising?
We sort of locked it down like at the same time. When we decided to do an album together, at that time we had already like 4 to 6 songs. And when we were like, let's just keep going and do an album, I think it was literally like the same week we had locked in the deal with 88 Rising. So it happened pretty quick. Um, everything, just all the pieces just sort of came into place at the same time.
How did that deal happen? Was that somebody that you knew, someone that he knew?
It was all someone that Guap knew. I mean, Guap, from his work, he had built a relationship with the people at 88 Rising, and then when he brought us in and we started, putting everything together, putting the pieces into place, we ended up sort of like all knowing some of the same people, so it kind of all came full circle. And that's another album, the second album, where I got artist rights. So this is, it's been a 5-year break for me, but you know having artist rights on an album is just something that I'm going to start doing a lot more. Just artist rights on songs, but to do that with Guap was really special, and thanks to 88 Rising, they made it happen.
For the people in the chat, what's the difference between artist rights and producer rights, or artist points and producer points on an album?
So again, I'm not a professional, so I don't know the super detailed technical aspects of it. But in the simplest way I can put it, when you produce a song on an album, right, on someone's album, or just you produce a song for an artist, the artist is entitled to the producer is not entitled to a certain let me say this: a producer is only entitled to a certain amount of points, which is percentages of the song, right? And when you have artist rights, you basically have access to receiving more points on that song and on that album, because you're a primary artist, right? You're not just like the producer that comes in and does their thing. You're the producer that comes in, but you're also part of the group. You're part of the artist rights. Your name is front and center. If there's a Times Square billboard, it's going to say your name and the artist. You know what I mean? And you're seeing a lot more of it happen lately, you know, especially with the bigger producers.
All right, let's switch gears a little. I think it was you who explained NFTs in terms of baseball cards. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, I did. That was
Damn.
fun.
Okay, it was you. Okay, because that really put things into clearer terms. So I want to talk about NFTs in a nutshell.
The NFTs are my favorite thing right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So explain NFTs to someone who just doesn't understand it. How would you do that in simple
Okay.
terms?
Okay. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. You don't have to worry about that, right? Don't even think about that. An NFT is basically a receipt. That's all it is. It's a receipt. Think of it this way. It's a receipt made of permanent marker on permanent gold that you can never delete, that you can never alter, right? A paper receipt is a fucking piece of paper with writing on it. If I burn it or rip it or throw it away, it's gone forever, right? Like the receipt that you get at the gas station for whatever or wherever you're going, that's your little record of proof that you purchased that item, right? But if I take that receipt and I throw it out, the only other evidence of that ever happening is maybe in like the cash register history of that store, right? That would be the only place that any evidence of me purchasing that thing would live. So an NFT is basically a token that is a permanent receipt, a permanent record of a transaction. That's all you have to know for now. That's the super basic way to put it. And it's very powerful. It's very powerful because what that allows for us to do is easily prove ownership of whatever we want. Whether it's, this coffee, which I'm holding with my hand, or, a fucking MP3 that you purchased somewhere, or an MP3 that I gave to Pain One. Any transaction that happens, you can prove, and it's unhackable, unbreakable, it's permanent, and it's public, which means anyone can see what happened in that transaction, who created it, who sent it, where did it come from, how much was it purchased for, what currency was it purchased for with, is it US dollars, fiat money, Ethereum, Bitcoin, DAI, whatever it is. And it's all recorded on what's called a blockchain, right? I'm sure you guys have heard the word blockchain tossed around here and there. It's all being recorded on a blockchain, which you can gain access to. So that's sort of the gist of it. And now because of that, we're able to prove ownership of digital assets. That's why NFTs are blowing up and the art world is blowing up, and you got people dropping NFTs because it's proving ownership. And when you can prove ownership of something from a trusted source, the value of that thing maintains value. You can guarantee it's not a copy, right? Even if I send the same MP3, if Pain One acquires an MP3 from me for some crypto and it's on the blockchain and we can prove that he is the true owner of that MP3, and then Pain One accidentally shares it with a friend and now they have the same MP3, even though the file is completely identical, the friend with the fake MP3 or the duplicate MP3 has no way of proving that they own that MP3. Only Pain One does. So because Pain One can easily prove that he owns the real version, Pain One's version is more valuable, which means that he can resell it for the amount that it's worth because it's the real version. Does that make sense?
To me, it makes sense. Hopefully, it makes sense to others. I recently had Burn One on as a guest, and he believes that NFTs will disrupt the music business and empower producers.
Absolutely. I think NFTs are going to disrupt life.
Mm.
The non fungible token receipts living on a blockchain is going to be part of everyday life. I'm going to predict this to happen before the end of the decade, but I would say as early as 24, 2025, maybe even earlier. I believe that non fungible tokens will run the world. Uh, Grocery stores, um, proving it's going to be a way to prove purchases, to prove where we were, to prove where we are, to prove everything.
How do you think that's going to apply to the music business specifically for producers? How is that going to change our standing in the music business?
I think in general, it's just going to help. It's going to help to, it's just going to help to prove stuff, right? Whatever that means. So if I need to prove that that's my sample and I composed it, I'm going to be able to without any doubt, without going in, without having to take legal action or without having to, pull up stems and show you that I made this beat, and that you stole it. So I think it's going to protect us in that way. Exactly what Master Mike said in the chat, prevent fraud. I think it's going to definitely help do that. I think it's really going to just help to prove what we need to prove, right? Whatever that means.
Let's talk more about that. So it's hard to keep up with you, honestly, because you're an early adapter of a lot of emerging technologies. And NFTs are one thing, and now you've embraced, and a lot of people are talking about AI in the chat. You've embraced artificial intelligence, but you've also combined that with NFTs. Talk about swirl loops and what that is.
Yeah, so I very, very low key started to an experiment and I created an NFT, which is not on sale. There's one that's like low key on sale on Foundation, but I haven't officially released them yet. And so I created these AI generated sample loops that I programmed. And each one of those loops is associated with a graphic image, which is a combination of colors and movements. They look like little hurricanes, honestly. They're hurricanes. And they're called swirl loops. And they're one of ones, and you could only get them through the NFT market, right? So I haven't released them yet. I will release them at some point, but it's just a fun little thing I wanted to do. And a lot of people don't know that, like, I've actually been incorporating AI in my melody composing for like the past 3 or 4 years. I remember the first AI generating VST I got like 3 or 4 years ago, fucking blew my mind. And I'm like, wow, like I can just hit random and then this thing will spit me ideas and I can tweak those ideas however I want. So I'm no longer bound by what I can play on the keys anymore. I have access to this whole palette of ideas, and so that's actually what's helped me for the past 3-4 years. What's helped me just crank out so many ideas is because I'm incorporating AI technology into my melody compositions, right? And then I'm taking those and I'm fine tuning them. I'm moving notes that are incorrect, and then I'm doing that. So creating an NFT of AI loops and swirl loops was sort of a natural progression, and it's that right there is like it's an experiment for me. Like all these NFTs that I'm doing are all experiments. Like it's not for the money. I'm not doing it for money. It's all for, let me do this thing and disrupt a little bit and see what happens and see if I could come up with another, thing that we can all maybe try. You know what I mean? So I'm having a lot of fun doing that.
All right, we have a few minutes left. I keep wanting to talk about. God, I have a lot of questions.
I'm here.
Back to non NFT related stuff. So advice to. Oh, no, let me switch. You mentioned your manager earlier on, and you said you signed to your management. What year? It wasn't too long ago.
It was like 2014, 2015.
And that's with same plate management.
Yes.
So, in your experience, what does a producer manager actually do?
So from my personal experience with John, I think the manager's job is to, well, it depends, right? I think it depends on the relationship, and it depends on what the, I'll just call it a client. I know it sounds like kind of stupid, but whatever. Like, it depends on what the client the client's expectations are, and what the manager's expectations are. Some managers are everyday personal managers. Like, hey, you have a meeting at 3 p.m. Don't forget. Or, hey, remember, we're going on tour, blah blah blah. You need to get this. You have to call this person. Or, hey, did you send those files for blah blah blah? Right? That's like an everyday manager, like a almost like a babysitter. No offense, but like someone who's managing your everyday. And then you have like more of a business manager where they're making big phone calls, they're representing you for important things, big things. They're putting big plays together, and that's a different sort of functioning manager. And then you have other managers that do a little bit of both, right? So my relationship with John is very much him making big calls, right? Like, he's not like micromanaging me in terms of like my everyday. So he's not like, hey, how many beats did you make today? Or, hey, swirl loops, I think you should add this or change this, or what, format should we put this in, blah, blah, blah. Like, luckily, a lot of that stuff I do on my own. I like to do on my own. So it's a good fit because he does a lot of the big stuff, and then I get to just like sort of have the freedom to sort of do the ground level stuff. And he'll come in here and there on little things if he needs to, but for the most part, that's kind of our dynamic.
I have a couple more questions. You recently tweeted it that it seems like the ones who over strategize everything end up not really doing anything, and the ones going with the flow and not overthinking it are actually seeing progress. You make samples, you make drum kits, you make beats, you run a mentorship program, you developed a course, you stream, you have a podcast, you were running an auction site, you're marketing yourself, you have apparel, you've toured, you have NFTs, you have your own cryptocurrency. How do you structure all of that? Do you ever feel spread too thinly, especially if you're just kind of going with the flow and not necessarily overthinking it all? How does that work out in day-to-day life for you?
Man, when you say all those things in one sentence, it makes me shiver a little bit because I'm like what am I? I'm crazy. What am I thinking? Like, how am I? I don't know, man. I honestly don't know the answer. I tend to jump into things that feel good. I jump into things that feel fun. If I feel physically and mentally overwhelmed or exhausted, I tend to pull away. So I think for me, at least what works for me is I I tend to take action as quickly as possible on things that feel very exciting, because I know that it's a 72-hour rule, right? This is what Drake talks about, but this is a different version of what Drake was talking about. The 72-hour rule basically is, if you're excited to do something right now and you don't take action, 24 hours later, you're not going to feel as, you'll still be excited, but you're going to kind of forget about it a little bit. You're not going to be as excited. 48 hours later, you're going to be even less excited about it. 72 hours later, you're going to completely forget about it, right? So I'm sort of the type of person to take immediate action on things that feel great. Let's put a cryptocurrency together. Fuck, let's go. Who do we call right now? Let's put together AI loops, call them swirl loops, and start pushing the button on that. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's start now. Put out a sample pack, Alorium, NFT. Fuck, that sounds crazy. Let's fucking finish this in the next, 3 hours. So that's the type of person I am. So that's helped me to be able to execute all the things that I'm able to execute. Now, not everything works. None of it's flawless. But it's not meant to be. I think I'm a fan of jumping into things that feel good, feel right, trying them. Not everything's going to work. Some things will work, some things won't. The things that do work, you keep putting energy into. The things that don't feel good anymore or just don't seem to work or just feel more stressful, I tend to pull out of more. And kind of where I am right now is sort of the result of it all, right? So I think it's a delicate balance. I think everyone functions differently. Obviously, I have a baby now, so I don't have the same luxuries I did of just like, hey, I'm going to LA or hey, I'm going to see Pain One for a week. Like, I can't necessarily do that without having to pre-plan a lot. But outside of that, I think approaching things in that way is super helpful.
All right, just a general question to end things, and I appreciate you staying for the full hour. What else is happening this year? What are you working on right now that you're excited for?
Man, oh, so much. So uh, right now the focus is my baby, and then so I'm not really making that much music, but I'm going to start soon. So one of the big focuses right now is my Blap coin. Um, Hold on one sec. You good? Oh yeah. Right. Just 1 second, guys. Sorry. So one of my big priorities right now is my cryptocurrency, my Blap coin. Uh, so it's out. If you guys missed the memo on that, the Blap coin is available to purchase right now. It's on my website, llmindproducer.com. It's all real. It's real money. It lives on the Rally token, which is under the ERC20 Ethereum. So it's on Ethereum. And the whole point of the token is for you guys to be able to purchase exclusive things from me, right? That's the whole purpose of it, is so you guys could participate in my economy. You guys can share coins, donate coins, trade them, and spend them on different things that I offer. Right now, I'm offering sort of a small menu of things. You can purchase an llMind beat. I haven't sold a beat to the public in 8, 9 years, and it's the first time I'm doing it. You can literally purchase a collab with me. Like I'm giving all these things that I haven't done before. I'm doing now with my Blap coin. But what I'm really excited about right now is working on an actual storefront where you can just like to the website and you can literally click what you want and check out using my coin, which is super, super, super game changing. Like for me at least, and I hope it is for you guys. So again, I'm just going to continue to give as much as possible to inspire, you guys and create this sort of economy where we can all sort of share ideas, thrive, network with each other, and build as creative people. And that's what I'm doing on Twitch. Twitch is another thing I'm working on. I'm excited about that. I'm coming back. I haven't streamed in 2 months, but I am making an official comeback in May. Okay, so in May I'll be back and I'll be streaming again 3 days a week. I got the nanny coming, full-time nanny, so it's go time. So I'm back on Twitch. I'm going to be incorporating and integrating my Blap coin currency into Twitch. So you're going to see the beat battles. You're going to be able to win some coin. You're going to be able to use your coins on different things on the channel, subs. Everything's going to be integrated. So I'm excited about that. I got more music coming. I got a pretty crazy remix of a song on one of the songs on me and Guap Dad's album. The verse came in. I can't say who, but the song is crazy. We're gonna drop a remix pretty soon, and maybe some other bonus tracks or whatever, and then just a bunch of placements, more NFT ideas. I've been collaborating with a lot of amazing visual artists on these like NFTs, and I'm just like having so much fun in that space. Just like getting into that space and just like discovering all these amazing visual artists and creating these like visual audio experiences with them has been so fun, dude. Like I haven't had this much fun in a minute. And so I have a lot more of the NFT sort of collabo stuff coming out soon. And what else? That's Oh, should I might as well tell you guys. So I'm working on a plugin. My first plugin. I mean, technically, I had a plugin called what I even call it. I forgot what it was called, but I released it a long time ago. Rump Shaker. It was a contact plugin. But I'm working on a plugin, so it's official on record. I can't say what it is or when, but I'm working on it, and it's so sick, dude. And for the record, it's not a tape machine type fucking plugin. Like, it's not like a sample. Run your samples through this, and I love those, by the way. Much respect, but it's not another one of those. It's something completely new, different. No one's done it before. I did market research on it. No one's done it. And it's something that I think is going to change all of our lives as producers. So I'm super excited about that. And that's basically it, man. Like, kind of, we'll see what happens. I mean, things can change in like 6 months, and I'm like on some new shit, but we'll see where the future takes us.
I mean, that's a lot. Do you ever use Isotope plugins?
I love Isotope. I actually use Isotope 5. I have like the old school shit, but I love them.
Well, this is a good segue then, because I'm about to hook 3 people up with Isotope Ozone 9 Advanced. I don't know how many of them are in the chat.
I need that shit.
Yeah, me too. I don't even have it, but I'm giving 3 of them away. I do have RX8. RX8 is amazing. Shout out to Isotope for that. But the 3 chat participants who won this based on everything that happened over the last 2 weeks are number 1, Rock 5, number 2, Cloud9 Music, number 3, BK Anderson. So shout out to all of them. I know some of them all of them actually are BeatStars users, so they're going to get inboxed with details on how to claim their prize. But congratulations, they have all won copies of Ozone 9 Advanced, which is a great plugin.
Amazing.
And I know it has a whole bunch of advanced features that weren't available before. So I'm going to have to check that out. Congratulations to all of you. Shout out to everyone in the chat sticking with us, asking questions, engaging. Okay, Cloud9 is here. Yeah. Congratulations. And llMind, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you always sharing your information to the producer community. I really feel like nobody can ever in a million years say that producers in the producer community are gatekeeping, because it's just not happening as long as there are people like you around. So appreciate that. Much continued success. Really looking forward to hearing about this plugin that's going to change the game. And
I hope
peace
so.
to everybody.
I really hope it does. I mean, I just want to continue to just do things that are helpful. That's really what my mission is. Like, if my cryptocurrency is helpful to people, then I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? The NFTs I release helpful. I just want things that I do to improve people's lives. That's really what it comes down to. So I appreciate you.
All right. Till next time, everybody. I'll be back same time, same place, and we will talk soon. Peace, everyone.